Business leaders know that their data is the key to unlocking the power of AI, but they don't know where to start because their data is everywhere and the use cases are vast. In this video, I'm going to illustrate how data flows from transactional systems into modern data architecture into the systems of activation in a one Microsoft platform. I'm Tim Smith. I work for Microsoft as a global black belt, and I guide our customers on their journeys to transform with AI. On my screen, I have swim lanes for legal and IT. You can see they're also interested in ID resolution, unification, and enrichment, and they share that with our data science persona. Then I've got a persona for analytics, and over here, I've got our business users for marketing, sales, and service. So it all starts with this data that is trapped in transactional systems. Many of our customers are already on a journey to move this data from these transactional systems into a modern analytic data store. And they're using tools like Azure Synapse, Azure Data Factory, or Databricks to do what we call ETL, extract, transfer, and load. They're taking this data, let's say, for example, website data, through that ETL process, preparing it and landing it in a modern data lake, like Azure Data Lake. The latest iteration of this data movement capability at Microsoft is called Microsoft Fabric. It's similar to these other capabilities, but we're continuing to invest to democratize it, to make it easier to get data from point A to point B with some innovative concepts like zero copy. So you're going to hear us talk about Microsoft Fabric and a lake house architecture called OneLake. But it's still essentially the same high-level pattern of connecting to these data sources, move the data into an analytic data store. So I'm also going to introduce Microsoft's version of what I call modern transactional data store. It's Dataverse, and it's the underpinnings of our business application platform and Power Platform. But more on that in just a few seconds. So this is where Microsoft offers our customers who are interested in CDP to take advantage of something that's top of mind for them, which is security. Our CDP enables a deployment option where it's in your domain. We just point to your data lake. We can then ingest into the CDP to do what CDPs do, which we call a patented 3M process, mapping data, matching the attributes from your sources to a common data model, and then merging those into what we ultimately want, which is a unified profile of our customer. This is what everybody is after, this customer 360 vision of an understanding of our customer. And what's unique about Microsoft is we'll take that new data model and we'll push it right back into your data lake. This is very different than what many of the CDP competitors are doing. Most CDP vendors out there are another cloud provider requiring you to take your data outside your firewall into their CDP, let them do what they do, and then you have to use APIs to get it back. From a security standpoint, we're hearing our customers, they do not want the data leaving their domain. So that's why we are connecting to your data lake, creating the unified profiles, and pushing it right back to your data lake. But the native data store for this unified profile for our customer data platform is Dataverse. So we're pushing that data into Dataverse for real-time activation. And more on that in just a little bit. But Harvard Business Review talks about the winners of this era of personalization are going to invest in and create engines of personalization. And I propose that these two data stores are Microsoft's engines of personalization once we get this new data model called a customer profile into both this analytics store and this transactional store. CDPs are taking your first-party data, unifying it because we might have a Tim Smith that lives in your website data source, in your CRM, in another cloud, in your mobile app, in your ERP system. So all this data needs to get dropped here. Then let the CDP do what it does in a low-code, no-code fashion to create the unified profile by matching and merging this disparate data, create the unified profile, and then we will enrich it with Microsoft Audience Intelligence data. It's not any additional cost, but we have things like brand and interest affinities that we can enrich to your first-party data. This is really helpful in a microsegmentation need where maybe you want to identify people that have an interest in health or an interest in fishing or boating or whatever it is that your company engages in selling. So we can add that to your first-party data, enrich it. These are making our data science people really happy. They also are interested in our out-of-the-box machine learning models, things like customer lifetime value, sentiment analysis, churn models, product recommendation, and we take these propensity scores and we can add it to your unified profile. And then lastly, once all this data gets into your unified profile, then we want to create measures and segments. Measures are the building blocks of segments. We take the data that's in there. Let's say, for example, website, we have time on page. So maybe we want to take the average time on page for particular products that your customers are looking at and add a score to so we can measure that and identify an interest in a particular product. And then we use those measures to create segments. And this is the ultimate superpower of a CDP is microsegmentation. So we can export those segments to your systems of activation, like advertising and like marketing. And we export that into those systems of activation. But to finish out making our data science persona happy, they are interested in creating custom machine learning models. So they might get quick time to value here. Maybe part of the secret sauce of your company is the work that your data science people are doing. And we can enrich this profile with your custom AI models with a simple workflow. Again, no coding necessary. And then once this data is available, we have the industry-leading analytics platform, Power BI, where through connectors, all of this data that we're creating is now instantly available in Power BI, so you can create the kinds of dashboards that you need. Now, I'm stealing a little soundbite from someone else at Microsoft that says, all this work that we've done up to this point is getting to an insight. But an insight is worth a dime of business value, where the action is worth $1. So one of the biggest mistakes I see customers making as they are embarking on their CDP journey is they spend all this time trying to get to the perfect customer 360, and they may spend a year or two just dropping data into their data lake, trying to get to the perfect customer 360. And that's actually not the best way to do this. And I'll cover that in more detail in a future video. But for this video, I'll land that you don't want to end with a perfect 360 on your journey. You want to focus on where the action is. And this is because this is where the money is. So let's get into the action. On the Microsoft platform, because we've landed this new unified profile data inside of Dataverse, now we can easily activate across advertising, marketing, and sales, as well as service. Anytime you see this little D here, this is Dynamics, their Dynamics logo. And so we have Dynamics for sales, Dynamics for service, and for marketing. But we also don't want to leave out our need for custom apps. And so our award-winning Power Platform enables people in marketing, sales, and service roles to build their own apps to fill in any gaps that are happening through the out-of-the-box apps in their marketing, sales, and service portfolio. So all this data that we've landed here, our customer profile, that C360, it lives here in Dataverse, and so we can use it for creating custom apps. But we wouldn't want to leave out our pro developers either. So we can have things like our development platform on Azure, GitHub, and things like Azure Logic Apps. So we've just illustrated how we move data from these many silos to an Azure data lake, how we are simultaneously pushing this into multiple systems of personalization, or these engines of personalization. And then the data is instantly available in all of our biz applications, from marketing, sales, service, and even to advertising platforms like Google, Facebook, Bing, LinkedIn, and companies like LiveRamp. Thank you for joining this episode of Tim's Tidbits.
Tim's Tidbits, Tuesdays at 2.